Welcome to Box Box Box. We are fresh off the plane from Netherlands, where the iconic circuit Zandvoort delivered yet another truly wild Dutch Grand Prix. This seaside roller coaster of a track, with its sweeping bank corners, tight technical sections, and zero margin for error, gave us everything we've come to expect. And of course, it was all set against that insane backdrop of orange smoke and a home crowd roaring on Max Verstappen. The energy was unreal. It felt less like a race and more like a festival on pure chaos. But the headline, Oscar Piastri. The McLaren man kept it cool, dodged the madness, and came away with a huge victory, one that extends his championship lead. This was Piastri proving that pole position wasn't just a fluke, it was a launch pad for a statement win. And on the other side of the garage, absolute heartbreak. Lando Norris, his closest rival and teammate, looked set for a podium before disaster struck. A late retirement with an oil leak that blew his championship hopes wide open. You could feel the tension ripple throughout the McLaren camp. One car celebrating and the other parked up in tears. So Zandvoort gave us everything: chaos, strategy shocks, retirements, and a title battle that just got even spicier. Let's get into the full race day breakdown. All right, let's dive into the headline story from Zandvoort. Oscar Piastri wins the Dutch Grand Prix after an absolute heartbreak for his teammate Lando Norris. This wasn't a domination story, this was gut-wrenching, a tale of fortune swinging wildly in one team's garage. Piastri started from pole, and from lights out he was calm, composed, and in control. But don't let that make it sound easy, because Lando Norris was glued to him for most of the race. The gap rarely stretched beyond a couple of seconds. It was that classic McLaren 1-2, and you could feel the tension in every lap. Now, the race itself, chaotic. We had three safety cars. The first came up on lap 23 when Lewis Hamilton lost it and crashed out. That moment was critical. McLaren pulled off a textbook double stack pit stop, cool as you like, and somehow held position for both cars. Piastri and Norris stayed first and second on fresh hards while the rest of the grid scrambled. Then came the second safety car, a collision between Charles Leclerc and Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli. Again, the field bunched up, the papaya train at the front tightened, but the order didn't change. It looked like a McLaren masterclass. Two teammates pushing nose to tail, a clean but ferocious fight for maximum points. And then came heartbreak. 7 laps from the flag, Lando Norris suddenly slowed. Smoke and oil leak. Game over. Just like that, the entire afternoon of pressure and precision, he was out. The frustration on the pit wall was visible. The crowd groaned. And inside that McLaren garage, you just knew the emotions were split in half. Joy for Oscar, devastation for Lando. The third and final safety car neutralised the field, letting Piastri cruise home for a win. He takes 25 points, the champagne, and the championship lead that suddenly looks a whole lot stronger. Norris, meanwhile, leaves Zandvoort empty-handed, staring down what could be the decisive moment in the title fight. And here's my spicy take. Piastri deserved the win. He drove flawlessly, led from the front, and never put a wheel wrong. And let's not ignore reality. This wasn't a race stolen on track. This was a race handed to him by Norris's cars letting go. Without the reliability issue, Lando was nailed on the second, and this would have been a simple damage limitation weekend in their head-to-head fight. Instead, Piastri's lead has ballooned to 34 points, and in the championship this close, that's not just a step, that's a giant stride towards the world title. So the question now is, was Zandvoort the day that the championship cracked? Did McLaren's perfect season suddenly tip the scales in Oscar's favour for good? The 2025 Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort gave us everything. Chaos, heartbreak, and a title battle swinging on the knife's edge. Oscar Piastri took the win, but let's be clear, this was not a lights to flag cruise. It was hard-fought victory in a race that will be remembered not for his calm control, but for the gut-wrenching heartbreak of his teammate Lando Norris. From the start, the McLaren duo were in a class of their own. Piastri led from pole, Norris never more than a few seconds behind, shadowing him lap after lap. It looked like the makings of a pyre-coloured masterclass, a 1-2 finish that would define their championship rivalry. But the race was anything but straightforward. Light rain hit the tracks at intervals, testing grip levels and driver confidence, while three separate safety car periods kept the tension sky high. The first big moment came on lap 23 when Lewis Hamilton lost it at turn 3 and crashed out. His first DNF as a Ferrari driver. That triggered a safety car number 1, and McLaren nailed a flawless double stack pit stop, keeping both cars ahead of the pack on fresh hard. The drama doesn't stop there. On lap 53, Charles Leclerc tangled with Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli, another safety car, another shake-up. Antonelli was slapped with a 10-second penalty for causing a collision, while Ferrari's day collapsed into a nightmare. Hamilton already gone, and now Leclerc retired too. A double DNF for the Scuderia. Through it all, the McLarens looked untouchable until lap 70. With 7 laps to go, Lando Norris suddenly slowed. An oil leak ended his race on the spot. It was brutal. He'd been right there, pushing Piastri, ready to bank a solid P2 and keep the title fight alive. Instead, his car let him down, and his championship hopes took a huge hit. The final safety car gave Piastri a clean run to the flag. He took his 7th win of the season, pole, fastest lap, every lap led, and the victory. But the story was clear. Piastri celebrated, Norris despaired, and the title fight took a decisive swing. Piastri's lead now stretches to 34 points with 9 races left to go. Behind him, Max Verstappen rallied to P2 in front of his home crowd. Not the win the Dutch fans dreamed of, but still a strong recovery after a shaky weekend. And the star of the day, rookie Isack Hadjar. Starting P4, he kept his head down through all the chaos and crossed the line 3rd, his maiden F1 podium, and a career-defining moment for the Racing Bulls. The rest of the points were no less dramatic. Alex Albon stormed from P15 to P5 for Williams, a massive comeback. Oliver Bearman, who started from the pit lane, delivered a career best P6 for Haas. Aston Martin bagged a double points finished with Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, and the top 10 was rounded out by Yuki Tsunoda in 9th and Esteban Ocon in 10th. So when we look back at Zandvoort, it'll be remembered for 2 things. Piastri proving his championship mettle and Norris losing what might have been his best chance to stay in the fight. The Dutch Grand Prix didn't just deliver drama, it may have just redrawn the 2025 title picture. Okay, let's talk winners. Because while the Dutch Grand Prix left some drivers heartbroken, others walked away with career-defining results. First up, the obvious one, Oscar Piastri. This was a champion's drive. Pole on Saturday, every lap led on Sunday, fastest lap of the race, and the win. He stayed composed through the chaos of 3 safety cars, the pressure of Norris breathing down his neck, and unpredictable weather. Yes, the race will always be remembered for Norris's heartbreak, but let's give Oscar his flowers. He did everything right and leaves a 34-point championship lead. Then, the home hero of the day, Max Verstappen. After struggling in practice, he turned it around when it counted. 3rd in qualifying, 2nd in the race, and he gave the Dutch crowd plenty to cheer about. He wasn't quite on McLaren's level here, but to deliver a podium under that level of home pressure, that's still a big win. But the breakout star, Isack Hadjar. Rookie Racing Bulls P4 in quali, and then converts it into his first ever Formula One podium. This kid kept his cool when the race went wild. He survived safety car restarts, pressure from faster cars, and the chaos of Zandvoort, and he stood on the podium next to Piastri and Verstappen. For Racing Bulls, that's huge. For Hadjar, it's a career launching moment. Another massive win, Alex Albon. He started 15th after a nightmare qualifying and somehow dragged that Williams all the way up to P5. That's 10 positions gained on a track where overtaking is notoriously difficult. It was classic Albon, smart, opportunistic, and calm under pressure. Williams needed the result and he delivered. Now let's not forget Ollie Bearman, starting from the pit lane and finishing 6th. That's unreal. Best finish of his young career in a Haas that wasn't exactly lighting up the timesheets this weekend. Bearman showed why Ferrari trusted him with that stand-in role last year and why Haas have rolled the dice on him now. And finally, Aston Martin. It wasn't spectacular, but it was solid. Both Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso scored points, finishing 7th and 8th after Stroll's nightmare in qualifying. To bounce back with a double points finish is exactly what the team needed to keep themselves in the midfield fight. Now that we celebrated the winners, let's flip it, because Zandvoort was not kind to everyone, and for some, this was a nightmare weekend. First and most painfully, Lando Norris. What can you even say? He was right there, matching Piastri lap for lap, managing the pressure and set for a comfortable P2 that could have kept the title fight alive. Instead, with 7 laps to go, his car let him down. Oil leak, race over, 0 points. You could feel the heartbreak in that garage. Norris did nothing wrong, but the championship has just swung heavily against him. It's brutal. Next up, Ferrari. An absolute disaster. Lewis Hamilton's race ended early with a crash at turn 3, marking his first DNF as a Ferrari driver, and at a track where he needed a clean result. Then Charles Leclerc collided with Antonelli later on, retiring with damage. A double DNF, 0 points, and another weekend where Ferrari looked nowhere near the front. For a team expected to fight at the sharp end, that's just unacceptable. And speaking of that incident, Kimi Antonelli has to take a hit here too. The rookie was judged at fault for the clash with Leclerc and handed a 10-second penalty. For the young driver still trying to build confidence, that kind of mistake stings. He had flashes of pace, but this won't go down as one of his stronger weekends. Another tough one, Lance Stroll. Yes, he salvaged points in the race with P7, but across the whole weekend, it was just messy. Crashed out in qualifying, started dead last, and only benefited from the chaos ahead to recover. Compared to Alonso, who was clean and consistent, it still feels like Stroll's season is slipping into damage control mode. And finally, I've got to put Liam Lawson on this list. P12 in the race is good, sure, but when your teammate bags his first ever podium in the same car, that's a tough look. Hadjar outshone him in every way this weekend, and it only fuels the question of where Liam fits into the Red Bull pipeline long term. All right, let's run through some standout moments that made this Dutch Grand Prix unforgettable. First up, the triple safety car chaos. 3 times the fields would bunch up. 3 times strategies flipped on their head. And the first came from Hamilton's crash, the second after the Leclerc-Antonelli collision, and the third triggered by Norris's heartbreaking retirement. Every single one of reshuffled the order, tested pit crews under pressure, and turned this race into a strategic minefield. Then there was the weather. Zandvoort flirted with light rain for most of the afternoon. It never tipped into the full wet conditions, but those damp patches added tension. Drivers had to balance aggression with caution, especially in banked corners, where a small slide could have ended their day. It wasn't enough to demand inters, but it kept everyone guessing, and it only made mistakes more costly. Another standout, the recovery drives. Albon from 15th to 5th, and Oliver Bearman from the pit lane to 6th. Both cut through the field with clinical precision, capitalising on safety cars and staying out of trouble. In a race where overtaking is notoriously tough, those climbs were seriously impressive. And of course, the atmosphere. Zandvoort remains one of the most iconic races on the calendar. The orange smoke, the grandstands literally bouncing, the sheer noise when Verstappen makes a move. Even when McLaren controlled the race, the Dutch crowd turned every lap into theatre. It's part festival, part furnace, and it gave the whole event an extra level of electricity. Finally, one small detail that might get overlooked, the team radio drama. From Norris's anguished call when his car gave up, to Leclerc's frustration at Antonelli's crash, to Albon's disbelief at how much ground he gained. The radios told emotional stories behind the results. Zandvoort wasn't just strategies and results, it was raw, unfiltered reactions in the heated battle. So whether it was the triple safety car, the teasing rain, those monster recovery drives, or the Orange Army turning Zandvoort into a stadium, this race gave us moments that we'll be replaying long after the dust has settled. All right, time to quickfire run through every team's weekend at Zandvoort. Let's see who's nailed it and who's left with homework. McLaren. A bittersweet weekend. Piastri flawless, pole to win, maximum points. Norris, a heartbreaking DNF 7 laps from the end with an oil leak. Title fight momentum swings massively. Red Bull, Verstappen salvaged P2 in front of the home crowd with a gritty drive, but still looked a step behind the McLaren. Tsunoda in P9 scored, but compared to Hadjar's podium in the junior team, he was overshadowed. Mercedes, Russell solid in P4, kept it clean and consistent. Antonelli showed flashes, but that collision with Leclerc cost him dearly. Rookie mistakes creeping in when he can least afford them. Ferrari, disaster. Hamilton's first DNF was with the team after crashing out. Leclerc tangled with Antonelli and retired. A double zeros for the Scuderia and another step backward in their season. Racing Bulls, what a weekend. Isack Hadjar took his first ever podium in P3 and Liam Lawson brought it home in P12. Their best result of the season and a serious statement from the rookie. Williams, a mixed bag. Sainz unlucky with pace and strategy, but Albon was the star. Storming from P15 to P5 with one of the drives of the day. Aston Martin, quiet but effective. Stroll bounced back from a nightmare quali to finish P7. Alonso steady in P8, a double points finish kept them in the midfield fight. Kick Sauber, a weekend to forget. Hulkenberg struggled and fell out of contention early, and Bortoleto never really was in the mix. They leave Zandvoort empty-handed. Haas, Ollie Bearman, the standout with a career best P6 from a pit lane start. That's huge for him. Ocon rounded out the top 10, bagging a point. Quietly one of their strongest weekends of 2025 so far. And Alpine, still stuck in the mud, Gasly off the pace, Colapinto struggling to find consistency, and no points again. Their engine future is sorted, but the present, still painful. So that's the grid in a nutshell. McLaren flying high but fractured, Ferrari imploding, Racing Bulls shocking the world, and Bearman putting Haas back on the map. All right, time to look at how that drama at Zandvoort reshuffled the championship board, because this was absolutely game-changing territory. First, the Drivers' Championships. Oscar Piastri now sits at 309 points with a commanding 34 lead over his teammate Lando Norris, who remains at 275 points. Nothing decided yet. There are still 9 races to go, but that's a hefty swing and a psychological blow to Norris. Max Verstappen holds third with 205 points, still solidly in the mix, but over 100 points behind Piastri, with even George Russell lurking in fourth with 184 points. This puts Piastri in a position of real strength. He's got a clear path to the championship. On the constructor side, McLaren are absolutely streaking. Now with 584 points, more than double what the second place Ferrari have collected. They've built a fortress on top, and Zandvoort really only just reinforced that. So what does this mean? For Lando Norris, this race was more than just a DNF. It was a tipping point. The one-off failure slipping him out of contention that might cost him the championship. Piastri, he's turned a tight title fight into something that is far more comfortable. Momentum, form and control are all on his side. Verstappen and Mercedes are still front runners, sure, but they're now challengers for what feels like a McLaren-controlled title. The only way back for them now is a mega error from McLaren or an unshakable consistency from Max. Bottom line, Zandvoort didn't just deliver another race, it reshaped the championship narrative. Piastri isn't just leading, he's pulling away, and with the next few races hinted at strategic pressure and the weather playing a hand, this title fight is at a fork in the road. So, with Zandvoort wrapped up, all eyes turn to the Temple of Speed, Monza. And if the Dutch Grand Prix gave us heartbreak and chaos, Monza is primed for even more. Here are my bold predictions. McLaren's still the benchmark. Piastri and Norris will be rapid again. Their straight line speed and stability through high-speed corners should make them favourites. The big question is, does Norris bounce back mentally from the DNF? My call, he comes out swinging, desperate to claw back some points. Verstappen, the dark horse. Yes, Red Bull hasn't looked the dominant force they once were, but Monza is Verstappen's kind of circuit. Long straights, heavy braking zones, and room to be aggressive. I think he'll be right there, at least on the podium. Ferrari's home pressure. The Tifosi will demand firework, but Ferrari are coming off a double DNF at Zandvoort. Hamilton and Leclerc need to deliver something big. My prediction, at least one Ferrari makes the podium. Not on raw pace, but because Monza tends to throw curveballs. Rookie watch. Hadjar's podium at Zandvoort wasn't a fluke. Racing Bulls have pace, and Lawson's been consistent. Don't be shocked if one of them sneaks into the top 5 again. And Bearman, after that P6 from the pit lane, Haas will be watching him closely. Strategy and chaos. Safety cars at Monza are almost guaranteed, but don't forget, it's Italy in September. Rain could play a part now, just like it did last year. Whoever nails tyre strategy could steal the show. So my prediction, Piastri for the win, Norris for second, and Verstappen in third. But I'll throw in one wild card. Watch out for Ferrari at home. If luck finally swings their way, they could break up the McLaren party. And that's it for the Dutch Grand Prix. Zandvoort gave us everything: heartbreak for Norris, glory for Piastri, a home podium for Verstappen, and rookie magic from Isack Hadjar. But the biggest takeaway, the championship picture just shifted. Piastri leaves with a 34-point cushion. Norris has to regroup fast, and Monza is up next. Ferrari's home race, the Temple of Speed, and the pressure cooker waiting to explode. Thanks for hanging out with me on Box Bitch. If you loved the episode, hit follow, drop a rating, and share it with your fellow F1 drama addicts. And tell me your Monza predictions. Does Norris bounce back? Does Piastri keep rolling? Or does Verstappen crash the papaya party? I'm Amy, and this has been your race day breakdown on Box Bitch, where the tea is hotter than the breaks in Monaco and the drama is always running over tape mode. See you in Monza.